Up to this point, we have gathered multiple sources of information for each Fidelity item to assure that the Fidelity review is as accurate as possible. The next step is to use that information to determine a Fidelity score for each individual item on the Supported Employment Fidelity Scale.
The first step in scoring Fidelity is for each reviewer to take the time to complete their own independent score for each Fidelity item. We highly recommend that this be done within 24 hours after the Fidelity visit is completed. During the independent scoring promptly assures that the information is as fresh and familiar as possible.
While doing independent ratings, reviewers may find items where they have missing information or inconsistent information. These areas should be noted and discussed during the consensus scoring. Reviewers meet together to develop their consensus score only after they have completed their independent item scoring. During this step, reviewers share their score for each Fidelity item and discuss the relevant information. When inconsistencies are found or missing information is needed, reviewers make follow-up inquiries with the appropriate source of information to clarify whenever possible.
When scoring, reviewers must have objective information that validates the assigned scores for each item. When writing the summary report, the information for each item is described along with suggestions to improve Fidelity for each item. Examples include anonymous quotes, information from client records, or observations of meetings and services.
Well, Sandy, I guess it's our turn to provide the demonstration. Are you ready?
Sure am. Keelan, how about if we take a look at the second item under organization? That's integration through frequent team member contacts.
Okay. Sandy, I scored that a 5. These are a couple things that I just noticed. The agency's done a great job in making accommodations so that the employment specialist can attend regular treatment team meetings.
Right.
Also, in the treatment team meeting that I observed, the ES were active participants in the treatment team meeting, and there was certainly shared decision-making in those meetings.
Right, I agree. And in addition, remember we observed the one supported employment meeting where ideas from the case managers were brought in for job leads. I thought that was fantastic. And they also have a lot of informal contact with each other. They email each other, they leave voicemail, they are co-located in the same building, so they're able to see each other during the day.
Those are good points, Sandy. You know, in addition, when I reviewed the clinical records, they indicated that there was contact between case managers and other treatment providers, and I saw a couple instances in which the ES had contacted the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist was able to make changes in the client's medications in order to accommodate their work schedule.
Great. That's great. So we're in agreement on that one, right?
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Well, let's move on to job development.
Okay.
And Sandy, there's 2 items in the new revised 2008 Fidelity Scale about job development. One has to do with the frequency of employer contact, and the other has to do about the quality of employer contact.
Okay.
And I rated this item a 4, but what did you see?
Well, what I noticed when I went out with the employment specialist to Crate and Barrel was that he just did a fantastic job of talking about the client's strengths. He found out about work hours, the rate of pay that was offered. They came up with a follow-along plan in order with the employer and the client there. It just was fantastic. The one thing that I noticed he didn't do that kind of surprised me is he didn't ask anything about the employer's needs at all.
Well, and that's pretty much what I saw. But you know what? Why don't we check the Fidelity Scale because it is new? Let's check it out and just see what the rating says.
Oh, that's
okay?
a great idea.
All right.
Okay.
I think that it's on page 12. For the item to be rated a 5, these are the essential things that need to be present when we observe. The employment specialist builds relationships with employers through multiple visits in person that are planned. They need to learn about the needs of the employer, convey what the supported employment program offers the employer, and also they need to describe client strengths that would make a good job match. Now, however, we've indicated a 4, and this is what the rating says here. It says employment specialist meets with the employer in person whether or not there's a job opening, and advocates for clients by describing their strengths and asks the employers to interview their clients. And, I think it's clearly not a 5, but I think our 4's pretty solid.
Yep, I agree with you.
All right.
I think it's a 4.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
What's next?
Well, let's move on to zero exclusion.
Okay.
All right. And I rated that item a 4. And here's just a couple of things that I noticed.
Okay.
First, there's no formal screening policies that the agency has that would prevent people from being referred into the supported employment program.
Right.
However, I did hear from the supported employment supervisor that individuals that were using drugs or alcohol needed to be in treatment before they were going to be referred into the supported employment
okay.
program.
Okay, that's important. In addition, I heard a number of other things that concerns me even more. I'm thinking they're closer to being a 3, to tell the truth.
Okay.
The thing that really concerned me was it seems as though there are occasions when a case manager will actually steer somebody towards their janitorial program, and it seems like it's a work adjustment training sort of situation. So I'm really concerned about that part of it.
Well, I'm not quite so sure. The supported employment supervisor said that most clients are referred directly into the supported employment program. And the data indicates that very few people are steered into that work adjustment program. And something else I noticed was that clients that are experiencing an increase in symptoms are being actively worked with by the supported employment specialist.
Okay, I'll tell you what. How about if we look at the manual? That might help us on this one.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so it says, for example, if a person hasn't worked in the past or has multiple perceived barriers to employment, would that person be referred to a workshop or an agency-run business or work crew to gain work experience? If that is the case, the agency should not score above a 3, since this pre-vocational program may present a barrier for some people who do not want to engage in a non-competitive program.
Well, Sandy, I think you're right. The evidence there certainly indicates that a 3 would be a more appropriate rating.
Okay, so how about if we just write up some recommendations in our report regarding this?
That's great. That'll be fine. Okay, let's move on to rate, time, and community.
Okay, that sounds good.